Our second video game review of the day is going to be for MK1. MK1, which is a reboot of the Mortal Kombat franchise, going back square one. You know, a lot of different origin stories for a lot of these different characters. We now see that Liu Kang, all that hard work paid off. You know, he is a god now. You know, all that training finally paid off. He restructured the whole universe, where now the roles have been reversed. Where Raiden used to be the god, now Liu Kang is the god and Raiden is the student there. And Kung Lao, he's still the bridesmaid, never the bride. You know, he's still the, you know, not the champion of Earth Realm. That would be going to Raiden. But one thing about this MK game is that there are no new characters. All these characters you have seen previously in other things, previous in other games. I think you were talking about that. A lot of the characters from this game are kind of from the middle era of MK. A lot of from like what MK 8, 9, kind of in that era.
Yeah, it's like the 4, 5, 6, and 7 era of games. You know,
Hey, y'all hear me?
Yeah. How's it going there, Drew? How's it going, man?
Good. I can't. The camera, they say it's got a block. I've been trying to unblock it, but I was like, man, fuck it. Let me just let y'all hear my voice.
Yeah, your voice is iconic enough, man. I think that's great enough. You said you want to kind of come in, come out real quick. What are some of what are your thoughts on MK1, man?
MK1, I think, because I wasn't that much of a big fan of MK11. I think MK11 was cool, but you know, my all-time favorite so far has been MKX because of how fast it is, like the whole rush down feel of MKX. My adrenaline was pumping with MKX. MK11 slowed things down. I'm like, okay, there's more footsie, like more shimmies and all that shit. MK1, I was like, this is a better version of MK11. I think mainly because of the assist and the air combos. I'm like, what would this game be like if it didn't have assist and air combos? And I was like, this probably be MK11 to be real. But
so do you think do you think it's MK11 plus MK10 like kind of mixed together?
Somewhat. I think yes, somewhat. But I would say probably still more MK11 because if you took that extra shit out, like air combos and assists, I think it would be MK11 because the game still moves and feels like MK11. You know what I'm saying? MKX was a different beast. That was like way different from all of them. But I think so far, man, I'm liking it. I guess you can say like MK11.5, some shit like that. Yeah. Because, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to pass it to Sage. Sage, what's your thoughts on that statement there?
No, I think that feels pretty accurate. Like 11, definitely, it slowed things down. It made it feel a little more methodical. One is it's a bit faster than 11, but it's not quite as fast as 10 was. I think it feels closest to 9 personally. Because that game also we've pared down on like the customization. You know, 10 had the 3 different variations for every character. 11 had, you had all these special moves and you could kind of equip and customize what your move set would be a little bit. And this one kind of pulled it back a little to MK9's scope where the characters are pretty set. And then 9 was also the last one that had an assist mechanic of some kind too. So yeah, I think somewhere between 10 and 11, like it's like 11 but faster. I mean, to be honest, I'll also say that I think you could have totally just called this MK12 because as much as it says it's a reboot, it very much still feels like it's directly continuing, especially if you've played the whole story mode. I think you get a sense of it's not really a reboot. Like it's got kind of a fun like what if element of what it's doing, but I do feel like it still feels like a extension of the games rather than a restart.
Yeah, that thing you said about MK9, yeah, I kind of feel that because MK9 they didn't have all these crazy extra mechanics. I mean, if MK9 feels like plain, and MK1 went back to not having all the shit that MK11 had. MK11 had the mechanics where you can wake up, roll, and wake up all that stuff. They just took that away, and they took the variations away too. So I'm like, okay, they just went back just being normal, but just adding their own flavor to it. So I'm like, yeah, and MK9 is kind of plain compared to the ones after it, but that game was fast too. Like you said they had the I forgot they had that tag team thing on there, so they did have like a little assist thing going on. But at the end of the day, man, MK1, I fuck with it. I like it way
Was
more than
it
11. Go ahead.
so you like it more than 11, you said. Do you like it more than 10?
No, no.
Okay.
10 was more of my speed, like pun intended. I like all the mix ups. Just the rum and Caddock alone, man, it just made everything pumped me up in 10. Some people didn't like it though, because they was like, it was a little bit too much. All the 50/50s people was complaining about. The mix ups I heard people complaining about. I guess some people just couldn't handle the shit. And all the combos, the combos on there, man, you can just get so creative with it. With one person,
Mm.
little bounce up combos when you neutral jump and shit like that. And you could just do so much. I'm like, damn. And it was three variations. Three variations with all that mixed together was just MK10 was like perfect for me. And like I said, after that,
Uh,
everything they just start slowing everything back down. I was like, oh, okay.
mm. Yeah, you could do a lot with MKX. I mean, people saw that when you had people like Ninja Killer come on and do a lot of great stuff with Liu Kang. Very creative stuff there. So I think generally, from what I understand from the Mortal Kombat fan base, because I'm generally new, Mortal Kombat 11 was my first one, and then I play in this one.
Yeah.
Is that MKX is considered generally the favorite out of the series?
Uh, when I hear people talk about like the new series of Mortal Kombat, I do hear a lot of praise towards MKX. When I do hear the negatives about it, it's always something about it's too many 50/50s. That's what I always hear about that. But yeah,
Mm.
they say ain't no real neutral
So
because everybody. They say ain't no real neutral because everybody running in your face and stuff. I don't know. I hear stuff like that, but I don't care about that. Like me personally.
okay. Well, I'll let you get out of here, but final thoughts on it on MK1. You want to give your like main character that you play with, any big downsides with MK1, and then our rating system is we highest you can give something is this is cinema. That's like the very very highest. Then peak, then tune in. Then the lowest you can give something is waste of fucking film, or this in this case waste of fucking video game. Burn it, skip it, tune out. So out of that scale, what would you kind of give it? Final thoughts, and what would you kind of give it there?
All right, final thoughts. First of all, you said something about the character. The characters I play is on right now. Sub Zero and Sindel. Um, and my little downfall for MK1 is it's something with the assist. They don't let you use your assist at any time you want to. Like sometimes I'll be trying to like do certain things like for an air combo, and you can only use it when a character when you hit the ground or something like that, and your character will stand still. I'm like, okay, man, that's kind of. I guess they're doing it for balance or something. But I was like, they should let me activate my assist anytime I want to. Like while I'm combo in the air, let them come out and do stuff. But sometimes it just don't come out. So I think that's a balance thing or something. But I feel they need to change that. Let me use my assist anytime.
Okay. Yeah. You
But
say you put the ratings down. Yeah, and yeah,
uh,
rating
sub
there.
Sub Zero and Sindel for right now. Yeah, them two.
Okay.
That rating
Okay.
system, not what's the rating system again? You said waste of a fucking film is the lowest.
Yeah. And then the highest is this is cinema, and then below that is peak, and then tune in there.
Oh, I say
Yeah,
peak.
peak. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Give it a
So
peak. So
peak.
that would
So what is that? Like a 8 or 9? Like what is that in your
yeah,
terms? What is?
yeah, that's good. That's like an 8, 9 out of 10. Yeah.
Okay,
Highish,
cool.
yeah. I don't know.
Cool. Yeah.
Mm,
If it was MK11, I probably gave it a little bit lower than whatever peak is.
mm. Okay.
Just a little bit.
Well, thank you, Drew. Thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah. Cool. I see you, man. I see. You. All right, say, man. Hey, see you too.
All right, man. Take care.
All right, man.
Sage. So, you know, about the story, everything like that. I know Drew kind of came in there, but you were talking about the story before you came in. What are your thoughts there?
Oh, yeah, no worries. No, I also wanted to say too, as far as like the favorite in the series, I honestly don't know if that's super agreed upon by the fan base, because I feel like I'll hear people say that six, like a lot, is like their favorite, or they're pulling out the real old school games for that too. So I honestly think you could ask most fans, and they'll tell you a completely different game for which one is like the best one.
Which one's
But
your favorite?
yeah, right now my favorite is still nine.
Okay.
Nine came right after Midway. The original company went completely bankrupt, collapsed after years of mismanagement, and then the team kind of got rehired under Warner Brothers and came up with a new studio. And nine just had the most offline single player content. It had the tag team mode, so you could have four people on a couch, playing in teams of two versus two. You had like 300 level tower arcade thing. There was just so much to it, and it was every character from the original run of the games in the arcade. It was all just done so well. I still think that is yet to be like fully topped for me, but
Okay. So you said it feels like more of a continuation of MK11 as far as the story goes. You said,
yeah.
and we were talking about it. So there's not really. I mean, do you feel like there's not any really major changes to the canon of MK? Really, like you can kind of go with it. They do some changes to some characters, but it's not like a huge, like, complete diversion from what we've probably seen before. Right?
No, not to that degree. It's definitely like there are some differences, like for sure, right? Like Melina, in the old games was a clone that Shang Tsung made in his monster lab to like, help take over the world or whatever. And here she is the eldest sister and the princess. Or normally Sub-Zero, Bihan dies in the first game. His younger brother shows up and becomes Sub-Zero, and then Scorpion is another guy altogether. Here, Bihan stays Sub-Zero, and the younger brother that normally becomes Sub-Zero 90% of the time you see him as a character, he's Scorpion this time. So there are some variations, like Liu Kang and Raiden, but to me it does feel like still feels more like a sequel than a reboot. And the beginning of maybe the first half of the story, it does still feel like, oh, this is new, and it's slightly more grounded and doing something just a little bit different. But as it goes on, it's almost that kind of thing where, all the changes Liu Kang's made, and he's tried to, kind of prevent so many villains from being problems. But it's almost like the universe is like course correcting and trying to get back to what it is. Like it's always trying to fight the changes that he's making. So I think you end up with a lot of, maybe still some different dynamics, but a lot of them are very similar. And yeah, I mean, and I still loved it. I still thought it was ridiculous, and without giving spoilers, I guess where it goes at the end is so just absurd Saturday morning cartoon. Like you feel like you're watching, like, just the most ridiculous episode of something like Justice League or a GI Joe, or just I mean, it just evolves into nonsense. But I've always loved Mortal Kombat for that. It knows it's kind of stupid, and it's leans into it, and it's like, we don't care, we're not taking ourselves seriously. And I think there's something really beautiful about that. It's just a dumping a box of toys on the ground, and except there's extreme ultra violence on top.
Mm, yeah, and of course, like with always, like MK games, very violent as always. And you see that in the trailer I pulled up
Oh
there. A
yeah.
lot of blood, a lot of guts there. You think it's better wise, fatalities, brutalities? You think a little bit better than like the last game? A little bit more creative.
I think I think 11s were a little more creative, to be honest. I think they were also longer, and people complained about how long it took to sit through the fatalities. Now I didn't mind that so much, but I think in this one, and I still think they're very creative here too. Not to put these ones down at all, but I do think 11 was just a little more just Looney Tunes absurd. But they could last like a solid 40, 50, almost a minute long. Uh, and then I think some people were just like, all right, once you've seen them 100 times, you don't want to sit through one that's that long every time. So I could appreciate that they made them a little faster this time around. Still very creative too, don't get me wrong, but I do think the last one was just a little more like, oh wow, I never imagined seeing anything like that.
Yeah. A lot of people, I heard people kind of complain about the presentation of MK1. Like they don't really kind of like the interface when you go into the menu. It's a little kind of lesser than what MK11 was. About how do you feel about a lot of kind of some of those features in it? And then the new
I
mode.
actually don't mind. I don't mind the in the invasions mode. Yeah, the invasions mode it could be better. Honestly, it really like I like the idea of it. I like the kind of idea of like moving around on a board game and doing like certain challenges and stuff. But the issue I have with it, and it's actually it's an issue that I had with 11, so it's a carryover that I probably have with both games. It's that instead of just making the fights harder, they do this thing where they have these environmental effects during a lot of the fights. So like a good example would be, every 10 seconds there's like a earthquake that'll knock you down if you don't jump. And that's actually not such a bad one. But then, it ranges from something like that, which, isn't too bad, to, maybe on the most obnoxious side, just a smoke across the screen where you can't see everything going on, and both characters just get stunned every 5 seconds because of the smoke, and it's like that's just not fun. They call them modifiers in the game itself, and it just, I don't know, a certain amount of them just feel like such arbitrary difficulty. Like it just doesn't feel hard because there's a way to learn to get around it. It's just like, oh, something's flying at you from off screen. It's like literally, it's like trying to play the game, and it's like having a friend throw things at you from the other end of the couch while you're trying to play.
Okay. Oh man.
And that was
you didn't
that was
really
a problem with 11 I had too.
Yeah. So not really much of a issue with you as far as the presentation goes, anything like that. You think it's pretty fine?
No, not really. I actually think like in terms of like the UI, like the main menu, and just like navigating all the options, I think it feels maybe even I like just a tiny bit more than 11. I think 11 felt like I don't know. There was a certain element of 11 where it felt like a little cluttered design wise. Like there's so many geometric shapes on the screen at all times in the menus that I'm just like, it's a little busy for me. And again, not to say it was bad, because I loved that game too. I've honestly probably never disliked a Mortal Kombat game like heavily, except for maybe some of the spin-offs from like the PS1. But I think I like that it's just a little more clean cut. To be honest, it reminds me of 9. Again, another reason why I do kind of like this one a little bit more than 10 and 11 is it just a lot of the feels just a little more simple, a little more casual friendly, a little more basic. And maybe for some people, maybe that's, maybe it's too basic. And there's not enough going on for it to be aesthetically pleasing. But I actually really like it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've only played a little bit of this game. I haven't finished the story yet. But I've been playing online a bit. Of course, Kang Gang, been playing some Liu Kang. Some of the characters there, and then Raiden seems like a lot more fun to play than he did in 11. I think he was so stiff in 11, and when
Yeah,
Drew
he
came
was.
on, talking about like a little the differences here, like MK11 felt, more footsies, a little bit more stiff. What people talked about in 11, 10 was more faster paced, more quicker. Here, this game I think feels differently than 11 did as far as the movement goes. So I like that the movement feels not as stiff as it did with the cameo system, which was kind of the big thing. People came as like the big new thing with this game is the cameo system. Very much of a diversion from the last one. And then all these different characters. I think it adds to a lot of creativity when it comes to the combos. You see online people doing a lot of good stuff, and then it seems like every week, someone was telling me that a new cameo character kind of trends. Like Kung Lao seems like the big one now people use to set up a lot of combos. So I think that is going to increase the longevity of the game when you can do a lot of
Yeah.
creative. I can use this cameo character to do this, and then this character to do this, and especially since the full roster is not out yet, and more cameos are coming and more characters are coming. I think that's going to increase the really longevity of this game more than probably MK11, the playability of it. So I think that's pretty good there. And then we start off with 24 characters, correct? 24 characters at first launch.
I'm trying to remember. It's either 23 or 24. It's either 23. Yeah.
Yeah. And like I said, very familiar characters that we've seen, and then it seems like people bounce around between their favorites. I think right now people really loving Raiden. Is good. I hear a lot of people. Lee May is really good. I've seen some good Nataras out there. People really doing some great stuff with Natara. Probably putting the actress on mute, but that's okay. Doing a lot
Luckily,
of that stuff.
it's not actually Megan Fox doing the like grunts and like mid combat sounds.
Yeah, which is a shame. I know she's getting a lot of crap right now. Just the same thing with like Lily Gao, is Ada Wong, and yeah, I mean, people saying like should we even have celebrities in video games? It's like yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. I think she's getting a lot of crap right now, but I don't think it's that serious. So yeah,
no, it's Mortal Kombat. It's so not. It should so not be taken seriously. There's nothing that should be taken less seriously.
So what will be your rating for it?
I'm going to give it a peek. I would only not go higher maybe because to me 9 is this is cinema of Mortal Kombat. That still I think captures something and got me to spend just such a ridiculous amount of time playing it that I don't know if this one will quite catch my attention as long as that one did. But I do think that this one is going to have my attention longer than 11. I think it feels better to me to play than 11. It is a little faster. It does feel just a little smoother, like you're saying, like Raiden and maybe a few other characters in 11 can feel a little stiff at times, although that wasn't everyone for sure. But I really like the way that this plays. I'm really excited to kind of see how it evolves as time goes on. Once all the other characters get added, we've gotten some leaks about who's on the way and some official announcements. I know Omni-Man is it's supposed to be before November 3rd, before the premiere of Invincible. The character will be coming to the game. So I'm very, very much looking forward to that. And right now, I think my favorite character to play as is Havoc.
Havoc. Okay, nice. So a peek for MK1.